All right, everyone, just cutting in here because we got a tornado warning for those of you in southeastern Franklin County and in the northeastern end of Jackson County. This rotation fired up really fast, and just before coming on here, I was examining this little signature here just south of Sherwood, and it did appear for a minute we may have had a small tornado here based off what I've seen on a correlation coefficient. You see this ball right here? This could very well be a tornado on the ground, passing areas north and west of Anderson and south of Sherwood in Franklin County. And this is heading south towards those of you in the Stevenson area. So if you're down towards Bass and Stevenson, I need you to take your tornado precautions because we may very well have a tornado on the ground within this thunderstorm. You see this circle right here? I'll show you exactly where I'm talking about. It's this area right here, and it's passing due south here towards Anderson and also towards Pleasant Grove and the Bass area of northeastern Jackson County in Alabama. So again, like I said, this rotation fired off really fast, and because of that, we have this tornado warning in effect. So as I said here, I'm hoping you guys are tuning in here because we got a lot of things happening here. So make sure you're sharing this out because this is very important info. So according to Doppler radar, I'm going to repeat what I just said. We do have a possible confirmed tornado here based off debris, based off correlation coefficient, this debris product right here where I got the hand, and it's moving south towards Highway 117 in Jackson County, Alabama. So just make sure you're taking your tornado precautions here from Bass to Pleasant Grove up to Anderson. And again, just to be on the safe side, even though this will probably spin out here pretty quickly, I would still be on guard in Stevenson and watch this very carefully. Now, let me go ahead and tell you who this is not affecting. This is not going to affect Suwanee. This is not going to affect Cowan. So if you're in Cowan or Suwanee, this is not for you. If you're in Winchester, this is not for you. Also, if you're over here in Marion County, this is not for you either. This is staying to your west. The only area that's seeing the action is in this area inside this red box. I mean, unfortunately, and I can show you the loop on this right here, and watch this little circle here where it has the blue and everything. If this thing can load, right about here. See, it jumped. So just south of Sherwood, and that's where it's gone. So as I said, unfortunately, we do have a Doppler radar indicated tornado. And let me get down to see where this is exactly. And the good news is at least this is mostly a rural area, but it's picked up something. Whether it's trees or whatever, it's picked up something. So it looks like right around a Sinking Cove Road in the southeastern end of Franklin County is where I'm seeing this. And again, it's probably moved south of there by now, considering this is 5-minute old data. But regardless here, this is also towards a Crownover Road, passing close to the Anderson. So you got that big plant that's out there, that big mine and mill and stuff out there. There's where it's moved now, so it's pretty close to that area right now. And here's the state line. So this is just about to cross the state line into the northern end of Jackson County. So there's a good chance that we probably had a brief spin up of some kind here just south of Sherwood. Again, like I say, I don't have the authority to confirm that. Again, a Weather Service survey will have to confirm that in the coming days, but it's shielded. The problem is you wouldn't even be able to see it anyways because it is shielded and just wrapped itself around in torrential rain. But the good news is I have seen a little bit of weakening on this. So it looks like this is gusted out here pretty quickly. So that's some good news here. So we are seeing some weakening. But again, stay on guard here, especially north and west of downtown Stevenson along 117. So that would be the Bass community. That'd be up there by Pleasant Grove. That's going to be the area to still be on guard just in case we get a little bit of reintensification. Now, this is not going to affect Scottsboro or Skyline or even Hollywood or any of Sand Mountain. So you're good down there. This is going to stay to your north. But again, areas north and west of Stevenson, especially downtown, just make sure you're taking your tornado precautions. Now, I do want to also real quick check on these other storms because I know we got some other intense storms out there. Let's check on this one up here around Belvedere and Winchester. That's a strong storm with some heavy rain, lightning, gusty winds. And let me tell you, the lightning today is torrential. I mean, it's intense, I should say. I mean, we got a lot of lightning, a lot of energy in these thunderstorms. So just be aware of that. So this is going to probably pass to the south of downtown Winchester, but again, you're kind of close enough. Just make sure, at least from the lightning, just make sure you're inside for about and follow the 30-minute rule here until this passes. But again, Belvedere, Huntland, you got a strong storm moving in. Marion County, the strongest activities in the southwestern end of the county down here by South Pitt and Orme, but the rest of the county is good. You just got some light to moderate rain, some thunder up towards Whitwell, nothing big there. And then up here across Walker County and in Dade County, more intense thunderstorms here. These are currently non-severe, but again, you're going to have, again, lots of lightning, lots of heavy rain, potential for some gusty winds. And then back up here to the north, this is what we call just stratiform rain up in here across Dunlap and up north towards Spring City and Decatur and Athens. So this is just rain up here. And these thunderstorms up towards Smithville are currently non-severe either. So that's the situation now. Also got some big storms towards Fort Payne, but those are non-severe. But again, this is the main area right now that has the most intense danger. So basically, you could basically say it's halfway between Sherwood and Stevenson is the area of concern. Now, as I said, the rotation has decreased. But what I can show you here is I can go back a few frames and show you what that circulation looked like. So what I can actually do here, and right there, that's what it looked like. This was just before 3:45, so this was about 10 minutes ago, and this is how tight the rotation got. So as you see, there's downtown Sherwood, there's a Tantalon. This was south of there, and so you see where. So here's the thing: when it comes to Doppler radar, when the red and green meet up like this is what we call gate-to-gate rotation. That's what we call a couplet, in other words. That means you got two wind directions going in opposite directions. So, for example, this green and blue here is moving toward the radar site, which is down in High Top. The red is moving away, and when the two meet up, that's an indication of rotation, and that's an indication of a possible tornado. So that's exactly what that looked like here about 10 to 15 minutes ago, as that was crossing south of Sherwood and is heading toward the Alabama state line. So let's see what's happened ever since. See, as time went along, notice it started weakening, and here we are now, and it's just become one big area of 60 to 70 mile an hour wind, more than likely, moving down into the Skyline Wildlife Management area of Jackson County. So, again, I know this is mostly a rural area, but if you know somebody that's out in here, especially on the north and northwest sides of Stevenson up here towards Bass, just make sure they're aware. They're seeking shelter and waiting this warning out. The warning technically expires at 6:30. But I do believe they're probably going to call this warning out early because it's moving out of the warned area here pretty quickly. So at least the storms are moving as opposed to sitting. So that's a good thing. And we've lost that debris signature. So thankfully we've lost whatever was there on this. So some welcoming news there for sure. And I can actually time that out for you here too, what that looked like here a few minutes ago. And you can see how that signature went from nothing here to all of a sudden you get this localized circle, which is called a debris ball, and then it moved like that. It kind of almost rotated a little bit and kind of oscillated. It went from here southeast and then due southwest, and then just fell apart as it crossed into Jackson County. So again, like I said, I really see that being more of a heavy wind maker more than a tornado maker. But I would still, as I said, especially north of Hollywood, just stay on guard there just in case anything changes. Again, this is really all part of one long complex here of storms that stretches here from Belvedere through Sherwood to South Pitt, through Bridgeport, down through Trenton, down across Lookout Mountain to Lafayette. And all of this is heading to the south. So those of you down here towards Fort Payne that haven't seen much yet, you're going to be getting this activity here within the next hour. So Sand Mountain, get ready. You're going to be getting some heavy thunderstorms. And then over here towards Chattooga County and Somerville, you're going to be getting this activity come out of Walker County here within the next hour as well. And then out here to the east, these are just traditional summer pop-ups out here towards the Blue Ridge Mountains. But again, this is this main complex here that we're watching. But I'll go ahead and give some all clears here for you here real quick, and I'll get to that new severe thunderstorm warning in just a moment for Jackson. But so again, if you're in Marion County, you're good. Just some traditional heavy rain, thunder. Nothing more than that. Grundy County, you're good. Hamilton, you're good. Squatchy, Warren, Coffee, northern half of Franklin, Winchester North, you're good. Van Buren, Bledsoe, Ray, Meigs, McMinn, Bradley, you guys are all good up here. Upper Cumberland, y'all are good up there. And out here to the east, I can pretty much safely say that if you're in Dalton and out towards Polk County, towards Blue Ridge, a couple of pop-up storms, but nothing big for you. Now let's get to this new severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued here for Jackson County. This does include High Top, Skyline, and Stevenson, and this is for 60-mile-an-hour winds. Now, not everybody will get the 60-mile-an-hour winds. It'll be in isolated, localized spots. So the rule of thumb I like to use is basically 50 to 60. So anywhere within this line, you could have 50 to 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And again, that's what we're saying. Localized spots along that line could see a higher gust as that moves to the south. Again, let me get you a movement on that. That's moving to the south at 5 miles an hour. So this is a very slow mover. I mean, it's not moving very fast, unfortunately. So that's also going to raise the risk of flash flooding because it's not moving all that fast. Now, I mean, at least it's moving a little, but it's not moving fast enough. So we're going to have to watch this very carefully here, especially considering the fact that it's such a slow mover. So again, just heads up in Stevenson, High Top and Skyline. Just make sure you're getting away from windows and just somewhere inside safe. And if you're outside at like a practice, at football practice, or doing any sort of outdoor activity, and you're out towards Scottsboro, I would be thinking about heading inside because these storms are heading south in your direction. They'll probably be there within the next 30 minutes to an hour. So if you're down south of the warning towards Scottsboro and Sand Mountain, this is your heads up. If you're outside, go ahead and start heading inside just to protect yourself from the lightning, because the lightning in these storms is going to be very, very intense. I mean, I can speak for that because we've had a lot of lightning being indicated in Grundy County earlier, and we've had a lot of reports of lightning problems, power outages, and all kinds of stuff. So these are storms definitely to take seriously for those of you to the south and southwest of Chattanooga. But again, let me check on this one here, make sure we don't have anything down here towards Fort Payne. This is just, again, another traditional heavy summer storm, just a regular pop-up here out ahead of the line. So that's thankfully nothing to worry. But again, watch out for the heavy rain and lightning there. But again, as I said, this is the main area of concern right now. Let me check the velocity and see if we get anything new on the wind mode, and we'll actually query some of these. So right over the Skyline Wildlife Management area, we're getting some gusts up in here of 40 to 50. And remember, the red polygon you see on this map is the tornado warning. So that expires here in about 30 minutes, but I think they're probably going to let that go. And then the orange polygon here is that severe thunderstorm warning, just to give you a little bit of a little color key there on the warnings. But again, these bright blues and greens you see on here, that's where we're seeing the stronger wind. Could be 40, 50, and some isolated pockets up to 60 in here. And most of that has switched, has gotten out of Franklin County and is moving south into Jackson as we speak. High Top, get ready. This is almost on top of you, and there's the radar site. So if you're wondering what this big circle is right here towards High Top, that's the radar site. So we're actually getting a very good actually, low-level look into these thunderstorms because the radar site just happens to be right there in the middle of all this. So hopefully we don't lose it, but at the same time, at least we're getting a pretty good low-level look at what's going on. So the intensities may look a little off here as this storm goes over the radar site. So yeah, don't get too caught up there on the confusion, these little spikes you're seeing and all that on there. That's just because the storm is moving over the radar, and remember the radar has to send its beams out, up into the atmosphere to be able to detect what's going on. So that kind of explains it here. But again, this is moving south. Basically, in Franklin County, this road right here where it says 16 there, that's Row Gap Road. And then once you get down into Jackson County, it becomes Highway 79. So that's exactly the road that this intense line of thunderstorms is traveling along. And again, this is moving south towards the Scottsboro area, and it's going to head down towards Skyline and also Pleasant Groves in the western end of the county. And then out here to the east, let's check on these other storms. Haven't had a chance to look at these yet, but I will right now. Out here towards Bryant and Higdon, Flat Rock, you got some heavy thunderstorm activity. Bridgeport's got it too. Could be a little bit of maybe some pea-sized hail up here towards Battery Hill, but that storm is currently non-severe. And they just cut out that tornado warning. So just to let you know, the tornado warning for Franklin County and Jackson County has been allowed to expire. They've canceled it. So that warning's been canceled, and as I've said, there's no longer any indication of a tornado. Again, it was probably, if I had to guess, we probably had, or at least could have had, a brief touchdown just south of Sherwood based off that little debris signature I showed you a few minutes ago. And like I say, these happen very quickly. Like, for example, this was a very quick hitter. I mean, it lasted less than 10 minutes. And sometimes this happens when you get into a linear situation like this, when storms bunch up and merge. You can sometimes get that brief spin up that happens with very little to no warning. So that's just the way things work. So again, I'm also broadcasting this live on my YouTube channel. I haven't had a chance to check and see if it's still working over there, but again, that's over at Chase Bryant Weather on there as well. So again, same username, all that. So if you also want to see the coverage on the YouTube side, I'm over there too. But we also have a new significant weather advisory that just came in. This is for the Rising Fawn area of Dade County. It's for this thunderstorm right here. Let me get the information on that. That's for 40 to 50 mile an hour wind, pea-sized hail, and frequent cloud-to-ground lightning. And this one's actually sped up a little bit, and that's good. 35 miles an hour. So, hey, the faster we can get this out, the better it will be. And hopefully by 5 o'clock, we'll be able to say that, at least I'll be able to say that things will be ending as far as the worst of everything. So, let's hang on here a little while longer since we got this warning here that's in effect. And as long as we got that in effect, I'll stick around here. But since there's some severe weather in the area, but again, let's check on this storm up here towards Winchester. I know this one's technically not warned on, but it's still pretty intense up here towards Broadview and Belvedere. But the good news is, usually you would think it'd be heading northeast, but this is actually heading the opposite direction, considering this is a north to south moving line. So it's actually heading towards Huntland, as opposed to Winchester and Deckard. So you guys are good up here. Estill, y'all are good. Tullahoma, you're good. This is going to be south of you by several miles. So this is going to be south of Broadview shortly. And Belvedere, you'll probably be out of it probably in about 10 minutes, I would say. And then down here to the south, Roe Gap Road, you're pretty much going to be in this for a while, down here in the southern part of the county. And again, this is a lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning, potential for gusty winds in this area. So again, and also I've been looking at the comments here real quick, and I've been noticing a lot of you have been tagging others that are in line, so I appreciate that. And again, like I say, there's no tornado threat anymore with this. The tornado threat has lessened significantly. So what this is, we've gone back to the original main threats, which have been the torrential rain, the lightning, the gusty winds, and maybe a little bit of pea-sized hail as well in some of these. So, and again, there may be some areas where, considering we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Franklin and Jackson here, it is possible that the sirens may be going off or have gone off. At the moment, I can assure you that there is no tornado threat at the moment. That tornado threat has went away, and we haven't had a tornado threat within 20 minutes. And I haven't seen anything, but I've been looking at velocity here behind the scenes here for the last 5 minutes, and I haven't seen any signs of new sudden couplets or anything that have formed, so that's good. So at least we have, for the time being, have ridden of the tornado threat. And again, like I said, I also reading some of the reports here. No power in Grundy County. Chatsworth, you're in good shape. This is well to your west. Pikeville's had heavy rain and lightning. Trenton, you're getting the storms that are coming off of Sand Mountain, so yeah, I would say so there. Do we need to be ready to shelter in Pisgah and Henniger? I think that threat is past there. So as far as like the tornado risk, so I don't think you have to worry about sheltering anymore in that area. Cedar Bluff, this is going to be to your north, but you'll probably get storms down there eventually. And Franklin County, mainly from Winchester, Cowan, Suwanee north, you're good. And Jasper, you're good as well. So I'm just answering a few questions here since we don't have any tornado warnings in effect. But again, so I'll show you where the heaviest concentration of strong to severe storms is. I said it runs from Belvedere through the Roe Gap area, Franklin County, down through Sherwood, almost Stevenson, not quite, but it's almost there. Down through about Higdon, down towards Trenton, it's Rising Fawn, down to Lafayette, Cooper Heights area, and that's going to move down towards Tryon shortly, as well as Menlo. And then down here towards the Fort Payne area, you got another pretty intense storm here moving over Sand Mountain that's moving southeast into that area. So just make sure you're aware of some heavy rain and some gusty winds there. And all this back out here to the west is non-severe at the moment. So that's some good news there. And again, back up here to the north, in case those of you that are tuning in on the Tennessee side, all this is up in here in the green and yellow that you're seeing on the map, going across Grundy and Squatchy, Marion, Bledsoe, Van Buren, Warren, Hamilton, Bradley, Ray, Meigs, and McMinn. All this is up here is what we call stratiform rain behind the storms. That's just some light to moderate rain, some occasional thunder and lightning, but it is not, and I want to say not, to the degree that this is down here to the south and west. So some good news up there, and that's a pretty hefty storm there south and east of Tellico moving into Cherokee County, North Carolina. But let's get back to the severe area here real quick. Let's check on some of the velocities here. I haven't done that in a minute. And those have slightly decreased. Now, this could also be because we also have that transition happening here. You can see how the colors change here. As we go from the toward here, which is in the green, to the away from the radar, which is in the red, you're going to see this color change happen here right over high top here. So it'll be interesting to see if we've really have had any kind of weakening or intensification here over the coming minutes. But it does appear, at least at the moment, that we've had a slight weakening here as this wind field is tracking south towards Scottsboro. And a lot of times in these situations here, you're probably going to get the wind first out ahead of the rain. So those of you down there towards Scottsboro and Hollywood and towards Guntersville Lake, you're probably going to be getting the wind. The winds will likely pick up first, and then the heavy rain will follow that. But again, as I said, no threat of a tornado at this point. But again, if you know anybody that happens to be on Guntersville Lake right now, you might want to tag them or message them or whatever and let them know to get off the water and get inside somewhere. I mean, and since there's no tornado, a vehicle would be safe considering there's no tornado threat. But make sure they get inside something here and wait this out here, because you don't want to be struck by lightning, especially on a day like today, because we've had a lot of lightning in these thunderstorms here today. But the good news is at the moment I'm not seeing any additional tornado concerns. Now over here to the east, this has actually intensified a little bit right here. We're seeing maybe some pea to marble size hail right around Sulphur Springs in the northeastern end of DeKalb County, Alabama. And it looks like the worst has moved out of Rising Fawn, at least the central part of town, but down towards Amos Mill and Masseyville in that part of Dade County, that's where the heaviest of activity is. South and east sides of Trenton are still getting some torrential rain. And then down here towards Cooper Heights, there's Cooper Heights and Kensington there, and Walker County, you got some very heavy rain there. South of downtown Lafayette now is where the heaviest of this thunderstorm is. That's moving towards Bronco, Center Post area, and eventually that's going to head towards Tryon and Pennville shortly. Again, Villanelle, you're missing out on this. Dalton, you're missing out on this too. And then out here towards Shiloh, here's Higdon, here in northeast Alabama. Floral Crest, some intense rain, a lot of thunder and lightning. There's Blevins Mill, Beulah, Yorks Mill. It's almost on Eider. Not quite in Eider yet, but it's almost there. So get ready for the downpours and storms there. And this is also going to affect Hammondville, Valley Head, and Mentone. So this is DeKalb County, Alabama. This is exactly where these thunderstorms are heading, kind of south-southwest into at this point. Again, if you're in Fort Payne, you got a heavy storm moving in. The heaviest is over Rainsville right now, but this is going to be moving into your area within the next, I would say, 10 minutes or so. So get ready there in Fort Payne. And then down here and back up here to the north, here's a new scan on this. So the worst of this storm is now past south of Broadview. So this is actually passing due south of State Route 50. So this is basically out of the Winchester area altogether. And it's moving right over Belvedere, and it's moving south towards, again, Huntland and the Jackson County line. So that's where this is heading next. And then once this moves over the state line, this will be fully out of Franklin County. But again, if you're in Sherwood, there's no more tornado concern there. The heaviest part of this storm is passing to your west and south. Anderson, I can say the same thing for you as well. I know it's still pouring down here along Highway 56, but the good thing is this heaviest part has moved to your west, and if you're in South Pittsburgh, I'm going to give you an all clear because this is to your west and south too. And same with Bridgeport. So, again, really Stevenson, the good news here is for you folks in Stevenson here, this storm out here to the west continues to slowly weaken as it approaches you. And I'll check the wind mode here real quick. And, again, I've been having a little bit of Wi-Fi issue here behind the scenes, so it may take a minute for some of these products to load, but here's the velocity update, and you see the winds have really come down. So that's the good news. They have really come down here over the last few minutes. So I do believe this storm is probably and more than likely gusting out, and the outflow, if the outflow is running out ahead of it, and I can see that on the velocity, if the outflow, you can't see it on the map, but there's likely an outflow boundary, I would say likely somewhere in this area here, that's gushing out and cutting out the inflow from all this up in here. which is likely what killed whatever that tornadic circulation was that was south of Sherwood earlier. It's probably what hurt that thing and choked it off, because once the outflow moves south, it cuts off any energy up to the north and allows these storms to gradually with time weaken. Now, there's also a downside to that, as there is with most things. The downside is it allows storms to possibly stall and sit over the same areas and kind of rain themselves out over there. So that's why I'm saying the flash flooding concern is still there. At least that concern is, because there's so much rain coming down with these tropical downpours, and it's falling down in such a short amount of time and heavy amount of time that it will not take much to get flash flooding started over a certain area. So again, let me check out some of these rain rates here while we're at it. I haven't had a chance to look at that. And this is all within the past hour. So look at this. We've had rain amounts within the past hour of over 2 inches in some areas, mostly 1 to 2, but there's some spots here across Franklin County. And right over Russell Cave, it's indicating 2 to 2.5 inch per hour rainfall rates there. So that's very intense right there, and that can verify itself right there with the latest storm total precip accumulation. So as I switched from the 1 hour to the storm total, you can see how well that verified. I mean, just in a different color. So again, good 2 to 3 inches of rain there between Orem and Bridgeport around Russell Cave, and then up here around Roe Gap Road, about the same range. I'd say probably about 1.5 to 2.5 inches. Then you get up here into Marion County, the western half of the county, specifically west of Jasper. You've had amounts here right around Sweetens Cove of about 1 inch to 2 inches, and then up towards Mott Eagle and Tracy City, where you guys were hammered earlier, about 1 to 2 inches. And then Altamont's been a big winner today, at least in the rain department, at about 2.5 inches, at least in downtown. And then, but as you notice, you go north of downtown Altamont, not much fell. Just the nature of summertime storms. You get a sharp cutoff. You go from the really heavy rain, where it really rained, to an area where it didn't rain as much, only within a few miles. And as you can see, again, areas in blue here, the blue indicates 1 to 2 inches of rain that have fallen, while the green and dark green indicate 2 to 3 inches of rain that have fallen. So you can see which areas have gotten the heaviest rain up in here so far today. And this is all within the past few hours. So again, let's get back to the current situation here. We still got this warning in effect for the next 45 minutes, but I have a feeling it's probably going to end up like the last tornado warning did. It'll probably be canceled early. So I really don't anticipate anything big or anything like that with this, as long as it continues to show signs of weakening. But this right here continues to organize itself over here towards a southern Dade County. So basically from about downtown Trenton all the way down Highway 11 and I-59 to Rising Fawn, there's just some very intense rain, a lot of lightning, and there could even be a little bit of pea to marble-sized hail in this. Again, right over Sulphur Springs is where I'm seeing this. Again, there's no official severe thunderstorm or tornado warning or anything like that on this, but this is definitely an intense thunderstorm, so just be aware of that. Again, the worst of this is likely going to stay to the west and south of Lafayette by at least a few miles, but this is going to head down towards Highway 337, 157, and down towards Tryon and Menlo and Somerville and Chattooga County. So heads up down here. If you got friends down here towards Somerville, just make sure they're ready for very heavy rain. And I know Somerville is a flood-prone area, and unfortunately more heavy rain is moving into that area. And hopefully it doesn't stall too long to the point where, you know, there will be flooding issues. Hopefully this can get in and out of there fairly quickly before that arises. So hopefully it doesn't last too long there. But again, you'll be getting some heavy rain down there very soon. And then once it moves out of there, it will move down towards Lyerly and then out of our coverage area. But up here to the north here real quick, I'll do another southeast Tennessee look. Again, basically Jasper up through Whitwell, Dunlap, Grootley, Cagle area, Graysville, Soddy, Lakeside, Decatur, Cleveland. A lot of rain in here, but again, nothing severe. Now, I do want to note there's a couple of storms that are trying to intensify up here towards Woodbury and Smithville, but these are currently non-severe at this time. A lot of lightning, though, in these. And again, let's make sure I'm not missing anything else. And again, Lincoln County, you're good for now. Lynchburg, you're good too. And again, as I said, this warning right here is just about to expire, this northernmost warning. And like I said, I know you're still technically in this warning in Winchester and Cowan and Suwanee and Sherwood, but as I said, I'm giving you the all clear because the worst of this is to your south, so you don't have to worry about this one anymore. So I believe this warning right here should no longer be valid because this storm has moved south of that zone. But again, this continues here. So the only areas that are really seeing any kind of like real strong storm activity right now are in two different areas. One around High Top and Skyline. And then the second area is over here along I-59 between Trenton and Valley Head around right around Sulphur Springs and Rising Fawn. And another area trying to form in Chattooga County heading towards Menlo. So these are really, and I can circle them on this map while I zoom it out and show you the areas that have the most intense storms at the moment. It's this corridor right here where the severe thunderstorm warning is. And as I move that to the south here, just so we can get an estimate there, at least get that out of the way. And it'd be this little area right here. So we got, here's storm area number 2, there's storm area number 1. And these are all moving very slowly to the south. So that's the direction they're all going in. So if you know anybody down here to the south towards a Center and a Weiss Lake, also give them a heads up because these storms are heading right towards Weiss Lake. And it's going to be there within the next hour. So if you know anybody down there, just make sure they're off the water. They need to get off the water and get inside somewhere safe here and wait this out so they don't get hit by lightning. And then same thing down here, of course, for Guntersville Lake. I mean, down here towards Guntersville proper and up towards the Scottsboro area, just make sure, even though these up here are weakening, there's still quite a bit of lightning in them, and that could still pose a threat to those that are outside. So just make sure that these people here along Guntersville Lake are aware too. So again, really the two areas that really need to be off the water right now are Weiss Lake in Center, Alabama, that's Cherokee County, and areas along Guntersville Lake from Marshall County and up through Jackson. And again, I mean, I would still say technically for Nickajack here, I would still just be on the safe side because, again, you could still get a random lightning bolt out of this lighter rain up here. So even Chickamauga and Nickajack Lake here, I would still stay off the water, be on the safe side, and wait for this rain to fade out here as it moves off to the east. So like I say, we are starting to see signs of all this rain breaking up here to the north. So, like I said, we're getting progress here. It's just taking time. Like I said, this was actually a pretty heavy cell right here earlier as it was crossing over Kettner Mill, but that little heavy downpour has weakened a good bit over the last few scans as that moves to the south. And then back up here, again, just some heavy rain up here. And then back here to the south, just got a new scan here just a minute ago. Again, right along I-59 and US 11 here through the northeastern end of DeKalb County and southern Dade and Walker County. This is the secondary area where I'm seeing the heaviest storm activity. Now, let me put on velocity here, see if we got any wind update. That's actually increased a little bit. Now, not to severe level. Now, remember, severe level gusts don't start till 58 miles an hour, but getting a little bit of increasing wind in here. So when you combine the green and the red here, that's about, when you combine the two numbers, that's about 40 to 50 mile an hour wind here. So that fits in pretty well with the special weather statements here, or the what I like to call strong storm advisories, because that's really what these blue polygons are. I mean, I know they're special weather statements, but I call them strong storm advisories because that's what they're usually, most of the time, at least 90% of the time, usually warned on. But I've seen them issued for patchy fog and other things too sometimes. But right here, right now, is where another area of intense thunderstorm activity is, and there's a new scan. As I said, it continues to slowly sag south into Chattooga County and south through DeKalb County, Alabama. And up here to the north, as I said, this severe thunderstorm that had the tornado warning earlier, it is slowly, with every scan, it is slowly falling apart kind of one by one. As I said, still some lightning, still some heavy rain, but the good thing is the lightning input continues to decrease. And if you've noticed, the rain intensities have also slowly decreased. So, as I said, there's no longer a threat for Stevenson. And really, that threat's starting to lessen for High Top and Skyline, even though you're just about to get in on the heavy rain and storm activity. At least the severe portion is really dwindling here with time. So, we're getting some good progress here. That's good. And then up here to the east, again, Chattanooga, you guys are good. Just be careful on the roads here because there's got some rain falling and roads are soaked. So just make sure if you're driving home this evening or going to night shift work tonight, just make sure that you are staying safe. take it slow, take your time, because it's very easy. Even if it's not raining that hard, it doesn't take much to hydroplane. So just make sure that you're doing what you can. Make sure you take your time. Don't rush, especially on these wet roads, because let me tell you, it doesn't take much to hydroplane in these kind of conditions, even in the lightest of rain conditions, especially when the roads are so damp. So again, if you know anybody that happens to be traveling along I-59 between Trenton and Fort Payne, or is planning to have to travel that route to work or vacation or wherever that may be, just make sure they are aware that there's going to be heavy thunderstorms with a lot of lightning and torrential rain, and make sure they slow down and take their time getting through there. And if it gets too bad, just pull over for a few minutes and let it pass. And just wait this out until this passes. So again, even though there's no severe thunderstorm warning in this over here to the east, I mean, it's still very intense. And where you see these little purple, the dots you're seeing here on the map, that's also the possibility of a little bit of pea-sized hail. Like I said, the hail's not damaging in this. The hail is just really more of a nuisance. It's very isolated. It's a nuisance. And really, to be honest with you, most of it melts before it even hits the ground, because considering how hot and humid it is, a lot of that probably melts before it even reaches the ground. So this sampling is likely taking place higher aloft, where there probably is some hail, but as that goes down to the surface, a lot of that's melting because of just how hot it is and humid it is. And again, back here to the west here, as I said, every volume scan I'm looking at, I'm just not seeing anything really impressive on this western end. So it would not surprise me here if we lose this warning here pretty soon. I know the warning doesn't expire for another 30 minutes for Jackson County. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. But again, I think it'll probably expire sooner. And you got one little lightning bolt up here I'm seeing across Grundy County, and I'll double check that real quick, make sure that's not anything, and no. And again, that goes to show right there that even in light rain, it's still not quite advisable, at least yet, to go with any kind of outdoor activity, because again, you can get a random strike like that can happen at any time, and it's very sudden. You don't get a warning for lightning because it happens like that. And so that's just an example right now. Remember, lightning can strike many miles outside of a thunderstorm. It doesn't have to be in a thunderstorm. It could be in a light rain. I mean, it's even lightning in areas where it's technically mostly sunny before, but there's like a thunderstorm 10, 20 miles away. I mean, it happens. But so that's what I'm saying. You just got to take lightning seriously here and wait until things clear up. Like, for example, if you're up towards Manchester and McMinnville, even Estill Springs, and Tullahoma and Spencer, you're free to do, at least right now, you're free to go ahead with your outdoor plans. I mean, we got to watch these up here to the north in case they intensify, but at least for the time being, you guys are good up in here to do anything you want outdoors for right now, because everything is farther to your south and far away enough to where you don't have to worry about anything. And again, Mott Eagle, I'd say about the same thing there too, actually, but since things are clearing up there, I'm seeing. But again, areas to the south, though, that's different. So northern Jackson, I'd still stay indoors, and down here, especially down here towards south of Trenton and towards Lafayette and Summerville and even towards Fort Payne, I would definitely still stay inside in this area, because this is definitely some very intense thunderstorm activity. And it looks like the Weather Service in Birmingham has went ahead and put out another special weather statement, strong storm advisory basically, for Weiss Lake, areas on the north shore of Weiss Lake, I should say, in Cherokee County, Alabama. So if you know anybody down there, just make sure they have the heads up and everything, and make sure they're aware that they got some intense thunderstorms moving south into their area. Could have some gusty winds, a lot of lightning, and torrential rain. And remember, this storm has to get over Lookout Mountain. So and remember, Lookout Mountain extends a pretty good way. Extends from just about Chattanooga here, and it goes all the way down through Dade, Walker County, and down through DeKalb County, Alabama, and down to Gadsden. So again, it's going to go over the Alabama side of Lookout, and then go down towards Weiss Lake and Center and Cedar Bluff. So if you know anybody down there, just make sure they're aware of some very intense storms moving in. And then Summerville and Tryon, this is pretty much almost on top of you right now. Even though it's a little weaker over here to this eastern end, but you're getting ready to get some very intense thunderstorm activity here shortly. And Menlo, it's almost on top of you as well. And again, Rainsville, it's pretty much moving out of your area, and same with Henniger. You still got some lightning in the area, but at least the heaviest part of this storm has moved just to your east. And as I said here, This storm, as it continues to drift into Jackson County, just slowly continues to fall apart, just slowly but surely, as it moves to the south. But I tell you, it's definitely raining buckets up here along State Route 79 up in here across northern Jackson County, pretty close to where the radar site is, where you see this hole right here. That's the radar, where the radar is, and it's just pouring rain up here. And then still pouring technically once you get up on top of the mountain here. That's Roe Gap Road that goes, which is Highway 16 in Tennessee, that runs down here to the state line, right near where the walls of Jericho and all that are. But but the rain will be lighting up there here pretty soon. I'd say within the next 10 minutes. But again, as I said, if you're in Franklin County, you're good. You're a severe threat. I'm calling it over for you because this has moved south into Jackson County and it's weakening a good bit. Now, I want to check on some of these over here in the farthest east counties because I know I have a few viewers over here in Blue Ridge and Ellijay. You got some pop-up storms in your area, but you don't have anything severe over here. Just some traditional summer pop-up storms over here. So, didn't want to forget about you guys because I know it's been kind of quiet out here today, but again, you're getting in on some activity, but thankfully it's non-severe. Also, for some of my followers east, right around Tellico Plains, you got a heavy storm to your east, but that along the Cherahela, but that's going to be passing into what looks like Graham County, North Carolina, and Cherokee County here shortly. And then Athens, Decatur, just some light rain up here. In fact, this has actually lightened up quite a bit in the last few volume scans, so this continues to gradually weaken. Again, Dayton, Pikeville, Dunlap, just some good rain here. Harmless rain. Maybe some occasional thunder or lightning, but nothing big there. That won't cause any flash flooding as long as it stays at that intensity. So as long as we keep it within these little yellows and greens here, you don't have to really worry much about flash flooding as long as it stays in the yellow and green. When you get down here to the south, down here across DeKalb County and into Chattooga County, Georgia here, where you see this dark red and you see this pink, that's where you got to watch out for the most intense downpours. So the good news is that severe thunderstorm warning for Franklin County, I know this one technically expires. This one's actually expiring right now. So the severe thunderstorm warning for Franklin County and for Jackson County has been allowed to expire. The Franklin County one has been allowed to expire, but the one for Jackson County has been canceled. So some great news there. So if you're in Jackson County, your warning is canceled. Franklin County, your warning is expired and is also canceled. So all clear from the severe weather threat in those areas, at least right now. Now, if it does re-intensify a little bit, of course, I'll let you know. But so with that said, since we no longer have at least any imminent severe thunderstorm danger, I know we have that strong storm in Valley Head and Hammondville heading toward Fort Payne, but so far that storm has continued to stay below severe levels. It's a strong one, but it stayed below severe levels, and same with the one in Somerville. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here because we don't have any severe warnings in effect, and we don't have anything really life-threatening at the moment outside of the lightning to the south here. So with that said here, hope you guys have a good, safe evening here, and if there needs to be any more written post updates or anything like that, of course, I will definitely provide that here as needed. So have a great and safe evening, everyone.